Now let's go into Power BI Desktop and learn more about implicit measures, explicit measures, and quick measures. Let's get started. This is our Power BI report, the global superstore report which we were working with. So if you're also with me, I want you to follow along and do as I am doing it. Good. Let's get started. Remember, in order to create this table and have sales for each of the region and sales for each of the year, we basically came over here for the field pane and we just checked the box for sales, check the box for region. We did not have to write any function or write any DAX function. It was created for us automatically by Power BI. Good. In the same way, I can activate this table first, which I want my calculation to be in. And I can also expand it a little, and I can change the location of this and expand it more. If I want discount to also appear on this table, I'm just going to check the box. And if I want profits, sum of profits, I check the box. Sum of shipping cost, I check the box. And we have it automatically. Good. All these discounts, profits, quantities, sales, shipping costs with a sigma sign beside them, they are all what we call implicit measures in Power BI. They are created for us automatically by Power BI. Anytime you have a numeric as part of your fields in Power BI, you are going to have these implicit measures automatically, whether you like it or not. Good. And that is one of the beauty of Power BI. Now, it is not only sum of sales or sum as a summarization or aggregation that you can do. You can also do aggregation based on average, based on minimum, maximum. Let us do that. Let us come to sum of sales and right click. And we can change it to average. Now we have the average of sales for Africa, Canada, and a lot of other regions. If I want average for discounts, I can also come over here and change it to average. That is just how we do it. And if I want it to appear as a percentage, I can come to sum of sales again, to average of sales, under my visualization pane, and change this from show value as to percentage of grand total. Now I have the percentage of grand total, but take note that this is percentage based on average of sales. I can come over here and change it to sum of sales. Now I have it correctly. If I activate this particular visual for sales, you can see I have a lot of things there. Sales, I can change the name it's using to appear. I can change the summarization from here also. And I can activate it again and tell it that the data category, I can choose that. I can come over here again and we can change the formatting, sort by column, and do some basic formatting for our numbers that appear over here. And that is that about implicit measure or about this sum of sales. So let us just go back and tell it not to do any calculation. Good. Now we have our value here. So if you want dollars to appear just beside it, you can change it to currency, and you have the currency that you want, and you can change the decimal place if you want that also. We click on this and we change the decimal place to 2. And now we have 2. And if you want 0, no decimal place, you change it. All these are formattings that you can do within the Power BI desktop. Good. Now, what I want to show you is we want to create our first explicit measure. Remember, there is a reason we need explicit measure. We use it to fully express ourselves in Power BI. We use it to create more complex calculations, metrics, business metrics that we want, insights that are not available by default in Power BI. That is the primary reason we need explicit measures. So let us just remove this discount and come over here to create our explicit measure. To do that, there are several places you can create your explicit measure. You can create it directly from the Home tab and click on New Measure. Or you come over here. You come in under the table that you want it to be stored, or you want it to house. You want to house it. You just come anywhere. And you click on New Measure. When you click on New Measure, you can now see a formula bar. This is the formula bar. I can increase the font size if I want. And I'm just going to delete this default name and I'm going to change it to sales. Now, the question now is I'm using sales again, and I have sales already here. If you try to do this, Power BI will not accept it because within the same table, you cannot have the same name of field. It's the same name for whether it is a measure or a column. So you cannot have the same name. But what I'm going to do is let's just try it. And I'm going to specify the column I want to sum. But remember, the column you want to sum is inside a particular table. So you need to specify the name of the table. Then you go into sales. Then you press the tab button to complete that and you press enter. You close the bracket and you press enter and you press enter one more time. You can see now it tells you the name sales is already used for a column on table F orders. Choose a different name. Let us call it sales explicit. Good. Now I collapse this and I come to my table again and I'm going to check the box for sales explicit. Now we can see our sales explicit is showing as part of this table. Now, if I want to change the arrangement, I want sales explicit to just be beside the implicit measure. I'm just going to move it. That is one thing you can do within Power BI desktop. You can just change the arrangement as you want. Good. Everything looks good. We have the same values, which means I do not need this particular sales again, the implicit measure. Okay, let us create another explicit measure now based on sum for our profits. I'm just going to right click again. I'm going to do new measure and we are going to call it profit explicit. Let's add explicit and call it equals to sum orders. Then we navigate and we press tab and we close the bracket, press enter. Good. Then I check the box again. Now we have profit explicit and I can change the arrangement again and bring it just under the implicit measure. Now, when we compare the values, we can see now that we have similar results. Sum of profits and sum of profits, we do not have the same results. You can see we can just change the error that we have here. It is not sales, but what? Profits. And change it to profits and press enter again. Good. It is as easy as that. Now we have sum of sales, sales explicit, sum of profits, profit explicit. We compare the value. Now I can see now that I do not need my sum of sales implicit, sum of profits implicit. I do not need it again on my table since I have a simple measure, a simple explicit measure that has been created, that we have created on our own. I can uncheck the box and uncheck the box for sales, also the implicit measure. Good. Now that we've unchecked the box, there are a couple of things I always do. I always like to put all my measures inside a particular table and I will call the name of the table what? Measure. Let us do that. In order to do that, I'm going to come to my home tab and I'm going to create a table. I'm going to come to enter data and I'm going to call the name of my table measure table and everything looks good. Now we can see that we have our measure table. There's no column here, just column 1. If you come to data, we can see this is measure table. There's nothing on it. Let's come back again and come to our explicit measure that we've created. The sales explicit. And once we activate it, we come over here to the ribbon and we change the home table. The home table now is going to be what? Measure table. Good. And I'm going to do the same thing for profit explicit. I change the home table and we call it what? Measure table. Good. And because of that, I can just remove this column 1, delete from model. Good. And profit explicit, what is going to happen to it? We can rename it again and call it profit since they are now in different tables. Let's us just call it profits. And the sales explicit, let us just call it sales because we now have it in different tables. Good. We come to our reports view. We now have our measure table profits. Then the measure table sales. Those are the measures we have inside it. And that is our explicit measure. We could create other explicit measure. Let us create explicit measure for discounts using another method now. We are going to create it directly from our ribbon and we click on new measure. When we click on new measure, we come to our formula bar and we call it discounts equals sum of F orders, and we navigate to discount, tab, close the bracket, enter, good. And we have discount, but we can see now that it was created inside the date table. And if you want to change the location to measure table, what do? We come to the ribbon again. Once discount has been activated, then we come to home table, we change it to measure table, good. Now we have it. And that is why I always prefer to create my measure directly from the feed pane over here. I'm just going to right click and it creates it automatically in the table that I have selected it from, that I have selected new measure from. And we have profits, discount, and sales now. If I come over to my F orders table, my fact table, which is discount, profit, quantity, sales, shipping cost, I have them inside. What can I do? Because I do not need these implicit measures again, since I have an equivalent simple measure or simple explicit measure that has been created, what can I do? I can hide them. I'm just going to right click on profit and do what? Hide. Right click on sales and do what? Hide. Right click on shipping cost and do what? Hide. Then we right click on discounts and we do what? Hide. Good. Now everything looks good. Everything looks good. We are happy. The sum of sales that I have over here, we can see it is still the explicit measure. I'm going to delete it and I'm going to come to my measure table and I'm going to check the box. Then I have shipping cost here. I'm going to come over here again. I'm going to remove it and everything looks good. Now we have our explicit measures in our table, now. Good, good. We've hidden them then because we do not need them directly. And we can see now that it is showing this sign in our model view and everything looks good. We have now successfully created our first explicit measures for sales, for profit, and for what? And for discounts. Now, we want to talk a little bit about visualization so that we will use it to understand which measures we need to create, which complex measures we need to create.